Hello and welcome. Coming towards the end of the semester, and I thought it might be a good idea to ask some questions and interview the Unit 3-4 philosophy teacher. So I have next to me James Watt,
Hi.
and he's been teaching year 12 philosophy for a couple of years now. And I was just going to ask him, basically this is just prompted by a couple of students, or quite a few students, just emailing, asking questions about what's the deal with Unit 3-4 philosophy, what's it like, what kind of areas do you look at, what's the content involved, how's it structured. So I thought I'd just get James into the beautiful surroundings of distance education recording room and just ask him some questions myself. So I guess I'll ask the first question. What's the structure of, because Unit 1 and 2 it's all been on blogs. What's the structure of Unit 3-4 philosophy, James?
Well, we don't use the blogs, unfortunately, in year 12 in Unit 3-4. Instead, we have lovely course books. Like many distance ed courses, we just use the books by default. But most students tend to send their work in via email or through the online submission tool. So we still have the forums. It's quite similar to the structure of Unit 1 and 2, except the fact is that not everyone has a computer, so we can't always depend on people being able to access the internet. But if you like using email and whatnot, then that's perfectly fine, because email's quicker.
Okay. Yeah, email is a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Yes. And what about the course itself? Units 1 and 2, in Unit 1, students viewing this would probably be familiar with metaphysics and epistemology, and then in Unit 2 they're kind of looking at ethics and philosophy of religion. What's the contents involved in Unit 3 and 4 philosophy? In a nutshell, I guess you could talk for hours on this, James.
Well, yeah, we do. Unit 3 and 4, it's quite different from Unit 1 and 2 in the fact that we use set texts. So that's the main difference, I think, in terms of content, what we look at. So we have several texts. I think there are 10 philosophers overall that we study, and we look at their arguments, and we as critical as possible as we can be of their arguments. And the topics in Unit 3 and 4, we start Unit 3, which is on the good life, and that sounds like an ethical sort of question, but it's a whole bunch of connected questions as well about metaphysics, about human nature, and various other sorts of things, factors that play into what the good life actually is. So it's quite a challenging and broad sort of area. And then in Unit 4 we look at the mind-body problem, which a few of you might be familiar with already, and we look at philosophy of science and epistemology as well. So it's a bit of a lot of topics, I think, that we have to look at in Unit 3 and 4 philosophy. So it's quite a thorough course, I think.
Okay, there you go. You heard it first on DCV video. I guess another question. So it's all about set text. How could one, if they're thinking about doing 3-4 philosophy for next year, how could they go about preparing for that at this stage? Over the summer holidays. Is there anything they should do? I don't know.
Well, if you're definitely wanting to study Unit 3 and 4 philosophy, our first set text that we always study is Plato's Gorgias, and I'm sure you can get a link to where to get this text if you email either of us. We can provide you with some details. But that's the best text to be reading to prepare yourself for philosophy, because it looks over our first really two philosophers that we look at, participants in the dialogue, Socrates and Callicles, and it gives you a really good indication of what Unit 3-4 philosophy is going to be like. There's also the Week 1 work, which is online from the website, and you can access that at any point. So if you're just looking to see what sort of things we cover in Unit 3-4 philosophy, I'd recommend just going and having a read over that, seeing if it's what the workload's going to be like, and all the skills that we actually practice throughout the year in philosophy we look at in that first week. So you really get a sense of how we try and look at arguments by analysing them, and also thinking a bit critically about them as well, and just really evaluating them.
Okay, cool. Like, pretty much covers everything. I probably don't want to bore him too much.
Yeah.
I guess one last question. What is philosophy?
Why would you ask that question? Well, it's a whole... That's a really mean question to ask, I think. Well, Socrates has a particular view of philosophy, and that's probably one I share, and that's philosophy is not just pursuit of the truth or being the most convincing sort of person in an argumentation, but it's looking for the good life, I think. So it's about inquiry into what's best for human beings in general, and that's what Socrates thinks wisdom is the knowledge, not just of anything, but knowledge of the good. So I'd say that's what philosophy is about, but we'll look at other versions of what philosophy is about in Unit 3-4 as well.
Yes. I guess philosophers like to talk about what philosophy is about.
Yeah, and whether philosophy is any use at all. Perhaps philosophy is no use for the good life. That's what some philosophers argue in The Good Life.
Thanks a lot for sharing your time with us, James. And
if anyone wants to chat more about Unit 3-4 philosophy, they're welcome to get my number off Julian and organise a time to chat. I'm always happy to talk about Unit 3-4 philosophy.
Okay, cool. And if you do Unit 3-4 philosophy, you might see James's face. So be sure to say hello and say, I saw you on a video all that time ago last year.
Video.
All that time back in the past.
Yes.
Okay, bye for now, and catch you later.